Hey guys, this is Sam and Jen. Welcome back to our podcast. On today's episode, which is episode 3, we're going to talk about keeping your cool.
Yeah, so today's topics, we're going to talk about ways to keep your head in check when you're playing either just a round or if you're in a big tournament, when things aren't going well or if you lose a disc, which if you're like me, you have a hard time getting past it. So what are kind of your ways that you have found that works to get you out of your head and kind of back into the way that you normally play? And then also along the same lines as when that disc is, if you lose a disc and that shot that you originally had is needed for another hole, like what do you do? Like how do you get past that obstacle? And then our last little bit is we're going to talk about just briefly, are you one of those people or those disc golfers that likes to talk about your round after it's over? You like talking about only the good shots, only the bad shots? You like to just talk about it as a whole? You know, whatever it is, it's just going to be a real brief topic. But it's all about keeping your head in the game.
All right, guys. Well, this is What's with the Wheelings.
This is going to be a channel that we are going to discuss mostly disc golf.
This is the way I live. Little boy still with the big wheels. I stack my money, lay low and chill. Don't need to work hard, that's the way I feel.
So our first topic that we're going to talk about today is just in general, which the whole episode is about, is keeping your head in the game. So my question is to everybody out there is, what kind of ways or things do you do to keep your head in the game? For instance, if you are playing around and something doesn't go your way, or it's just like one bad shot after another, missing your putt, like whatever the case may be, just nothing seems to be working out for you. What do you do? How do you jump that hurdle? Like, how do you get out of your own head? Because that is by far my biggest problem when I play. I can't seem to get out when I have a bad bunch of shots or a bad hole. I tend to carry it over to the next hole without even thinking about it. I don't know, it just stays with me and I can't seem to shake it. And I asked multiple people, hey, what do you do? How do you get past that? Like, you shot a bad shot too, but how did you manage to like just forget that hole and just move on? Like, I don't know how certain people do it. So my question to you, I guess, since you're the one with me, is what do you do?
I mean, I guess the biggest thing for me when I'm playing, because I'm going to throw a bad shot. It's just going to happen. I think the biggest thing that I can do is, so I play with a bunch of buddies and we razz each other. So when you throw a bad shot, or say, I'm just having a bad luck. Last weekend we went and played and I won't talk about it, but I took 2 8s on not easy holes, but 2 pretty tough holes. Because once I got in the crap, you just couldn't get out. So what I did was I just laughed it off. And really that's helped me quite a bit because, just if you can laugh at yourself, of course, it's going to help because you're just kind of in the motions. You're not really, you're competitive, like you want to win.
Right.
But at the same time, like I'm thinking about those rise rounds. I'm like, oh man, wait till the guys find out I took a 8 on a certain hole at a course. And they're going to be like, Sam, that's not possible. And then I explain it to them, and they're just like, it's just a bad hole. There's not much you can do about it.
But what do you tell those people, though, that maybe the Raz round is not going to be something for them? It just brings them down more. Like, what would you tell those type of people? So I could handle certain razzing, but after that, like, what do you do past that?
The only other thing I can think of besides that is music. Try to distract yourself, maybe just for a split second to get off the round. A few years ago when we played GBO, going into one of the rounds, I was having a good round. Like, it wasn't bad. I just had a few bad holes. So I put on 3-6 Mafia and started just jamming out in my head. But it's just some classic rap or just something that I knew all the words to, that was something that was going to make me smile, be happy, and just get my mind off the hole. And that's honestly what helps me the most, is just forgetting the shot. And I know that's probably the hardest thing for a lot of people is forgetting the shot.
Yeah.
We've played many rounds together. 2 days ago we played, and, we kind of did a walkthrough while playing, just trying to figure out what was in her head, what she was thinking about, and just trying to figure out ways to just, get over it, a bad shot. And we try to give you some advice, was basically just looking for, you take a bad tee shot, right? It goes off into the crap,
Yeah.
and you're like, crap. And then the other 3 people you play with, we park the hole. So we're getting a 2.
Yeah.
So in your head, what are you thinking? You're thinking...
If I'm pressing, I'm trying to make up my rough first shot to make a better second shot. But even then, I tend to be the player that I shouldn't try and be up to everyone else's standards. I should just be my own.
But you're competitive.
I am, and that's my biggest flaw at the same time. I mean, it's one of my greatest attributes about me, but it's also one of my biggest flaws, is because I can't stand when I know I'm capable of doing something, like with, when things aren't going my way, when I do get kind of mentally checked out for a minute, I get mad because I know what I'm capable of doing. And when I think I'm doing it correctly and it doesn't work out, then you might as well just shut me down, because I'm like...
Well, and I think that's what it is. I mean, it's almost like, you played softball, so it's 30 strikes, you're out.
Yeah.
But you can have 3 bad shots in disc golf and still be in the round. The biggest thing is just, like you said, mentally preparing yourself, but it's how do you do it? So whatever you need to do to get yourself happier, you know what I mean? So, because if you're getting mad, you definitely need to calm down, take a deep breath, just, do a push-up, something that's just different and unique. Well, think about it. Like if you're on a card and you throw a bad shot and everyone just knows, like the energy on your card is, wow, she's having a bad round, and no one wants to be around you. Like, do something stupid that maybe the whole card just kind of laughs at you, and makes you smile, and then you get back to just being relaxed and just like, you know what, the round's already shot, or, maybe I have a chance if I can just par out the rest of the holes. So if you take a bad shot, then just make sure your very next shot is not an angry shot.
Yeah.
Because we all know that if you throw an angry shot, your second shot, you're most likely, your form's going to be off, you're not going to hit your line. Or worse is, you foot falter, you take a penalty that's going to give you strokes that were unneeded.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, we'll say that, I mean, it's kind of off topic, but still on topic, is even if you're having a bad round or a bad couple holes, if you have terrible card mates, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody out there, but if you have terrible card mates, like, it is so much more difficult to get out of your own head, because if everybody's got the same vibes, your whole card, and you are still continuously not doing what you know you're capable of, and in your whole card is just a bunch of duds, like, you are not gonna, it's nearly impossible. And I've played several rounds where it's worked out that way, and it's so much more difficult to get out of your head when the rest of your card is not necessarily in a bad mood. They're not the most, like, they're not social butterflies. They just are the people that go and play, and that's all they're there for. They don't really want to socialize. They come, they play. If they do good and they get payout, they leave. Like, it's just that simple.
Well, and I mean, that's the competitive side. Some people, and I wouldn't say you don't play disc golf to make friends, because, I mean, let's be honest, probably 80% of our friends that we actually hang out with, on a regular basis now, are going to be disc golfers. That's just what we do. But I think really it's just, maybe take the headphones with you. Do that thing where if they're not doing something, just do it. Or jump on your favorite app and look up a stupid TikTok or something. I don't know. Just something that calms your nerves, but where you're not thinking about your round. Because you're going to throw a bad shot. You're gonna start taking stupid bogeys or stupid pars.
Yeah.
If it's a, birdie or die hole.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is, honestly, is just, you got to Taylor Swift it. You got to shake it off.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. I know one tournament I told myself, I said, you know what? If I throw a bad tee shot, I'm gonna do a push-up. And I did a push-up, and everybody on my card laughed, and they're like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I told myself if I threw a bad shot, I had to do a push-up. I threw a bad shot. So I did a push-up, and it really just, the energy level came back to the card. So everybody was just laughing, having a good time. And I think sometimes when you're playing with a bunch of people you don't know, you don't know how serious people are. Like, follow the rules, be quiet when the throw in, don't mean their view when the throw in.
The rule Nazis are out there too.
Yeah, but just you got to have fun when you play. I mean, definitely want to be competitive. but you've got to figure out a way to just kind of smile. And worst case is text somebody you know is going to send you a stupid meme. Or before the round starts, just say, hey, got a round today. If I text you, it means I'm having a bad round. And prepare someone to help you get in a better mood.
It's a good idea. I never thought about something like that.
But guys, again, tell us what you do. Or, maybe some advice. I usually don't. Once I know I'm going to have a bad round, I don't throw the round, but I will try different shots. Just because I'm like, well, I'm out of it. Might as well try something. But what do you do? Definitely comment below. Or hit us up. She's always looking for advice. We try to go play rounds with her and talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's always kind of nice.
Yeah, I think the main thing out of that whole conversation that we just had was, I think it's just getting yourself in the right mindset. Like, if you have, which I'm still working on it, I'm actually going to try maybe when we go to our next tournament, which is coming up soon, I'm actually probably going to take my my headphones and my music just to kind of get myself mentally kind of in my own headspace, not the bad way, but like just kind of get myself prepared, but
Kinda
chill,
like your
calm down.
Your batting song?
Yeah, kind of like a walk-up song. Get ready, prepared. Just that way I'm kind of got myself mentally in the right state to go out and compete in the right way. But I think just getting your mind right, getting the right state of mind, and trying to find something positive out of the negatives, I think is going to be the biggest thing. I know while that's really difficult for those of you that are out there playing disc golf, it's really hard to do sometimes. But I think if you can find, like, okay, I threw a really, really terrible shot that round or that hole, but, my upshot was really good. Or, I knew what I did wrong the whole time. So it's like, it wasn't even really, that it was like a terrible shot. It was just like, my form was off, or I released it late, or I released it high. Like, you can find something that doesn't completely be like, oh my God, I just suck. Like, not anything like that. Yeah, it happens.
All right. Well, that kind of brings us into the next topic. So the next one, of course, was, how do you get your head right after you throw the bad shot? So basically the same things. Just, make yourself laugh. But one thing I will say that I make sure that I do is breathe. So just taking a few deep breaths, spend the 30 seconds you've got once you get to your disc and look for a different shot, look for a different hole, and then make sure you play the percentages. So if you're deep in the crap, like I was at Charlie Vettner last weekend, oh man, I looked. I was just like, all right, do I pitch out and then throw up, or do I try to throw like a tomahawk or a thumber over the trees? I can't throw over the trees, but if that was a shot, like I try to look for those shots to give you the higher percentage. And if you're going to take a 4 because of just where you are, then play it safe. So maybe instead of getting out a high speed driver, try to power through something. Maybe just throw the putter to where it gets you out into the open, to where then you can play your next shot.
Yeah, and that is easier said than done. I mean, he's talking from experience, obviously, but we could talk and ramble about this all the time, but until you actually go and try it yourself and experience being in that crap that we're talking about, or having to really decide, like, oh man, do I want to muscle out of this, this thicket, or do I want to just pitch out, just suck it up and then take the next shot and hope the next shot's better. Like, sometimes the hardest shot to me is always pitching out, because if you are a person that feels like that hole is easily, you can get it in 3, and then you're having to pitch out on your third shot to try and save like a 4 or 5, like, yeah, it's frustrating. It is so frustrating. But for you to look at where you're at and then decide, okay, what's going to be the smarter play in the end? Would it be better to take a 5, or should I risk taking a 6 or a 7?
Right. The biggest thing is just play the percentage.
Yeah.
Take deep breaths, play the percentage, make sure to get your head right. You don't really have a lot of time once you get to your disc. Yeah. So, you don't really have time to, call a friend and have them tell you a stupid joke just so you can get it out of your head. But once the hole's done, then that's really where, you kind of have to sit back and say, okay, so, how did I do? What did I do wrong? Or just be like, you know what? Try to be a little bit more positive. Be like, hey, I saved a 4.
Right.
Because it can always be worse. Trust me, we all know this. You can throw in, and again, one of the 8s I took wasn't that it was a bad shot, because it was. That's how it became an 8. It was that I rushed my next 2 shots. I didn't take my time. I didn't collect myself. It was already not really a long day because it's just Charlie Vettner, but it was a long day in the sense that, I wasn't throwing the greatest, but I was competing against myself. And so, that's kind of what did it.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes taking that extra half second is pays off.
Right.
You get up to a disc and you start rushing, maybe take a step back, take a breath, take a look at your shot briefly, and then
Right.
go with what you feel is going to be right. And most of the time, go with your first selection. A lot of people are like, oh, should I throw this or should I throw that? Well, don't think too much about it, because then you're starting to think about all the scenarios, what could possibly go wrong, what could go right, and then you're already out. So you might as well.
That's why you play the percentages. The shot that's going to be the smarter shot. There's plenty of times where you can look and you're like, man, I think I can hit that gap.
Yeah.
And if it's a practice round, try it. Like, it's not going to hurt during a practice round. Mm-hmm. But once you get to a tournament, you've got to be like, okay, I've got to pitch out. That's the high percentage shot for me to even try to save this round or save this hole. Because keep in mind, you take a 4 on one hole, and then everybody takes a 3, and then the very next hole, say you take a 2 and they take a 3, it's a wash. You're 4 washed out. Mm-hmm. So one hole, you have to get over it. And if it's a whole round, then you just have to wash the round.
Right.
And that's, really that, again, comes to the next topic, is just, talking about your shots that worked and didn't work after your round,
Right.
So looking back at the round and saying, oh, man, I did this, I did that, just trying to think mentally, what could I have done right? How much better do I think I could have shot? Because, like, for example, Holler in the Hills, right? So the first round we played blind. We shot, 3 down, 2 down, something like that? So
Yeah. Whatever 52 is.
yeah. So we shoot that, and then the second round we're like, okay, we're going to have to shoot these shots. And that's what we did. We looked at the first round. We said, where did we need to be? What lines do we need to hit? And we shot 5 strokes better.
Yes.
So that's where thinking about your shots.
Yeah. Even setting up small goals for yourself too, because we went into that round, which we'll actually be posting that whole second round. I think our next episode or next couple episodes is going to be based on that. I'm not sure when we're getting that out, but we went through the first round blind, so we had expectations for ourselves, because we always do, but we also were like, okay, well, let's just see how this goes.
Right.
And we didn't shoot as bad as we thought we would. We both ended up losing a disc, which that's losing a disc is kind of difficult too, because it's kind of segueing back into the mental game. It's hard when you lose a disc, especially if it's like your go-to, or one that you know exactly what it does. Like, even if you threw it wrong, you knew it was going to work out for you either way. But the best thing for that is to just hopefully you have some backups. I mean, really, there's no other way to really. I don't know how else to say it. Just have backups, I guess.
Well, you can't really have a backup of a seasoned disc.
That's true.
Like, let's be honest. So a lot of touring pros probably have brand new discs, so their sponsors are like, hey, here's 6 discs of the same run.
Yeah.
And those 6 discs are going to do the same thing every time, straight out the bag.
Yeah.
But most of the discs that, AMs are going to throw are going to be those seasoned, mids or your go-to drivers that you know exactly how to flip them up. And if you lose it, we all know that most brands out there try to be consistent in their plastic, but they're just not. So, thinking about your shots that worked and didn't work is, if you lost a disc during the round, is literally saying, okay, what do I have in my bag that I can throw a similar line and try to get the same result? Because, I lost an EMAC Truth at Holler and Hills, and I wanted to cry almost. And I have another disc that's going to fly somewhat like it, but not exactly like it. So I know I have 2 options. I can throw something with more Annie and just, a little bit more overstable of a mid and let it, glide back out. Or I can throw another one that I have that's newer and not beat in and just put more Annie on it and just hope it fades the same way. Like, there's not much of an option when you lose a disc like that. But the best option is, once your disc is seasoned, just hang it up and get a brand new one. Realistically, so we're, if you're going to lose a disc, the worst thing you want to do is lose a seasoned one. But the best thing you could do is have a disc in your bag that kind of overlays
Yeah.
that line.
You can, it's your chance to learn new shots too with your new disc. Maybe one you don't throw very much, you can actually learn to throw it. Which, it's kind of a catch-22. It sucks to lose like a disc that you are really favorable with, and then have to change up to something else. But then maybe this disc that you started throwing actually becomes seasoned just like your other one, and it works just as well. But it's just you have to just get over that barrier. But going back to what we were talking about prior was, we, after the first round at Holler, we were like, okay, we've seen them. Yeah, it sucks. We lost a couple of discs. We just have to just deal with it. It is what it is at this point. But we're like, okay, our goal this round is just to shoot 1 or 2 strokes better. Like, it wasn't even like anything huge. It was just a couple of strokes, just to be like, okay, we did better on this hole than we did last round. And we ended up shooting, 5-6 strokes better?
5 strokes better.
So we ended up shooting a 47, I think is what it ultimately. So we were pretty pleased with ourselves. And, even after losing some discs, like, we were still able to come out of that tournament with at least some positives.
Well, and that was because we walked back through the course, mentally during our lunch break, and just said, okay, well, we have this hole, so what shot do we have? And I had this disc, but I lost it. What else is in my bag that can shape that line? And just knowing and trusting your disc in your bag. A lot of people are like, oh, I only throw like 1 of this disc, I don't have 2. Well, as long as you have a disc that overlaps it, it's fine. But if you don't, then it could cause an issue, because then you're going to try a new line you didn't know, or something's going to just be out of line and you're going to be screwed.
Right.
And not saying you couldn't throw the shot you wanted, but you're going to have to throw a new line, and it's going to hurt you a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that, we talk about things like that after the tournaments or rounds that we play. I mean, we have certain friends of ours that'll actually talk like abundantly about the round. I mean, I talk about it, but after I've kind of like expressed some of my I guess my finer moments, and then some of my craptastic moments, like, I'm done. Like, not like I don't want to talk about it anymore. I just don't really have much else to say, because
it depends on what kind of round you had, though. So if you have a bad round, you don't want to talk about it. Or, if you lost a disc, then they'd be like, oh, we know why didn't you throw this? Because let's be honest, most of the people we play with locally, they know our back. If I see somebody throwing a certain disc, I'm like, oh, I already know what that is, because it's expected. Like, it's like you with your justice. Like, if we got up to a hole and there was a certain shot, I would 100% expect you to throw your justice. But that's why, for example, when we were playing bets, you looked at a line with your putter and you're like, I might be able to hit it. You took the safer route with the justice, which worked out. But we were like, hey, go ahead and throw the putter anyways, just to try it.
Yeah.
But, you really, I think you have to talk, about your shots, talk about what worked, and just shake and stuff. And really that's, the last thing we want to talk about is, just do what you want to talk about the round.
Yeah. Do you, you can feel free to comment below. Are you one of those people that likes to talk about your whole round? Like, are you one of those people that goes hole by hole by hole and talk about, oh, I shot this, I shot that. Oh, this didn't work. That didn't work. Like, are you one of those people, or are you only harping on like what you did that was really well? Do you just do bad? Are you a mix? Like,
everybody though.
I know everybody does it to a degree, but sometimes, there's only so much that you can really talk about. But I get it. It's a way for people to decompress, and it's a way to, kind of get your kicks, like, especially if you shot a really good. But if you get an ace or a hole in one at any, you're going to be talking about that like the whole time you're traveling back home. That's just something because you get either, you're getting money, and, it's kind of like a big adrenaline high that you get. But then it also kind of gets you prepared for your next coming, rounds and your next tournament that you got coming up. Because if you're already riding that high and you're already like excited because you were in like, you either won the tournament or you were in the top percentage of, so many people, like, you're geared up, you're ready, you're amped, and you're feeling it. Like, you're ready for your next tournament.
Well, and so locally, me and Jarrett Spriggs, we go back on this and forth every time. And it's almost like he says, it's a competition. So, oh, you had a good hole? Well, I had a better hole. Or, oh, you took a 4 there? Oh, well, I took a 5 there. So, that's the competitive side. Like, even though you're done playing for that round or maybe for the tournament.
Yeah.
You're still competing for, well, you thought your round was bad. How about this? Or, oh, man, you had a good round. I still beat you. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to talk about my round. Almost everyone knows about it. I'll tell you about my round a month from now just because I was like walking. I'm like, oh, man, I don't know if I told you, but I had this one shot. It was awesome. And then you're like, Sam, I was there.
Yeah.
I know. And I'm like, but do you remember it? Because it was awesome. Or it was horrible. And I don't want to talk about it. But I think it's good to talk about a round. Maybe it is a hole that gets you every time. And someone's like, you know what? You should try this. Talking to people that have played the course before, like, yeah, this is the line that I take. And you're like, I didn't even know that was the line until you told me.
Even talking about the tournament before you actually play your round, because if you've gone to the same tournament every year, like it's your ritual, you go every single year. Courses don't change, like they might have changed like a placement or a location of a hole or something, but other than that, like go ahead and talk about it. Be like, okay, hole 7 is my kryptonite on this. I've tried doing this, this, and this, but maybe the people you're going with this time have played it before, and they're like, well, I actually have tried this, and it works out really well. Do you have a shot similar to that? And they'll be like, oh yeah, actually I do. And then maybe they'll think about it when they get to that hole, and maybe it'll be something they can try.
Well, that or they can help you with placement. So like hole 15 locally at Veterans, when we were playing it, you were just like, I can't outdrive you guys on this hole, or I can't do this. Well, you threw probably the smartest shot you could, which is just flex your justice to stay in the fairway.
Yeah.
And then, in theory, it's the same next shot where I try to throw big flippy, TDX, and I hit a branch and went to the crap. And I still saved my 4 through one of the craziest rollers in my life. But, you took a 4. I took a 4.
Yeah, shockingly enough.
And the biggest thing is just the only difference was, I was able to save it where you played the hole smart.
Yeah.
I'll play a little bit more aggressive because of who we play with. And, well, we all know I don't really like losing to you, but you do beat me. So
occasionally.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, she destroyed me at Charlie Bet. Bad.
I had a good round at Charlie Vettner. If anybody's ever played that up in Louisville, I had probably the best round I've ever played out there. And it was like everything was just working. Like putting game was strong and my drives were good. Like even when I wasn't in the best spot, like I was able to get my mids out there. I mean, it was just everything was working for me. Yeah.
So I mean, guys, I know we're all different in how we play, but realistically, we all kind of had some of the same crews that we hang out with that do different things with who you play with, how they treat you, and I think that's, kind of wrapping up today's show is just make sure that when we're playing, we're having fun, just keep your mental game strong. If you lose a disc, especially if it's a go-to thrower, just make sure that, you collect yourself, and just think about what's in your bag that'll work for the same shot. And then just talk about it at the end of the round, if you're traveling to play disc golf tournaments, your buddies most likely know what's in your bag. Like, I could probably tell you almost every disc in your bag.
Yeah, probably so.
And so if you were like, oh, man, I lost this disc, and then we'll talk through it. We're like, what about this disc? What about this disc? So
yeah, there's always going to be an alternate disc or an alternate way of the way you originally you approached the shot or originally played the hole. So, you just got to find it. Like I said, if you have any tidbits or advice on keeping your mental game strong, whether it's, what do you do? Do you listen to music? Are you just the kind of person that can just get over it? I know each person is built differently and, we all have our own, ways of dealing with, situations. But if you have anything, any suggestions for us down below, feel free to comment. I'm willing to try anything because like I said, my mental game is the hardest part of my game. And I'm trying to, especially when I'm in like big tournaments where I'm with a bunch of other ladies, like I need to try and like make sure that I stay in check and don't completely fall off the wagon.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next time, especially for episode 4. It'll be out next Friday. We will actually be playing Tennessee State Championships next Friday. So if you're there, we'll see you there. We will do a little bit of recording while we're there. Try to get you guys some overview of how our rounds and stuff went. So that'll be probably the next big episode here in a couple weeks. So, all right, guys. Well, good seeing you, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. You're supposed to say what's up with the remix. Huh? You're supposed to say this is what's up with the remix.
Oh. And this is what's up with the remix. Oh, my bad.